Disconnection from source is the biggest dis-ease on the planet. Welcome to this week's World Affairs Truth Report number 18. I'm Helen Jane Rose and welcome back to another report. Can't believe that this is the 18th. And if you're tuning in for the first time, just very quickly to introduce myself, I'm a channel, author, automatic writer and energy healer, and we do these weekly reports where I write through automatic writing guidance and messages from the Divine Council that I previously wrote a book with, if you like. Through automatic writing, I wrote the book The Coming Times, and now they've asked us to almost like a continuation of those messages and guidance in the weekly format that we're presenting to you here. And then once I've read the report, Ged comes and joins me, who's a craniosacral therapist, an acupuncturist, an energy healer. And he comes and unpacks the reports and brings his wisdom and perspective to help us to kind of assimilate and to understand the messages from the Divine Council. Okay, well, I hope you're all well, feeling very refreshed. We've just been for a lovely swim in the sea. So nice. So feeling nice and connected and refreshed. Okay, right. So I'd like to read to you this week's report. Welcome, beautiful souls, to this week's World Affairs Truth Report that's soon to be renamed. We hope you have enjoyed a week of a sense of new beginnings, as if something within you feels different. Perhaps it's an obvious feeling of feeling a little more settled within yourself, or perhaps it's related to an external circumstance that's shifted, or maybe your internal is yet to catch up and realise the beauty in what has occurred. We come with an energetic hug as we wrap our metaphorical arms around those of you who are experiencing challenging situations at the moment, and come as a reminder that this too will pass. And if you can allow yourselves the benefit of the higher perspective that nothing is happening without the consent of your higher self, your soul. Yes, life is happening for you, even when it feels like it isn't. That can be a frustrating phrase when you're in the midst of what feels like a difficult situation that you can't see your way out of. And we remind you that surrender in those moments is a very powerful place for you to be, alongside asking inwardly for help and support. Remember the truth to ask and it is given. Perhaps not always in the way you might expect, but on reflection, you will realise how help came to you in the most mysterious ways when viewed from the miraculous point of view, that somehow things work themselves out without you actually working out how. It's the analogy of pregnancy that we would like to mention here, where you surrender to the process, trusting that the end result of 9 months will be the birthing of a baby. It's so miraculous, and so can your life be when you shift into the energy of surrendering to your soul higher self and the benefits that brings you. Namely, the living experience of being at peace and an inner joy of being reconnected to your source through which enabled your life. Your mother-father was the vehicle, yet it was your source creator, the name is irrelevant, that was actually responsible for your creation into this world. That and the innate intelligence of the body that responds to your soul and your subconscious moment to moment. The biggest dis-ease on the planet is being disconnected from your true source, your true self, your higher self. As you take steps to reunite, you start to feel something shift within you, and you realise that in the silence lies your greatest source. Your source communicates to you through the inner silence. So the more time you can actually connect in there, becoming very mindful of the space outside of all your thinking, so you start to get a greater sense of the multi-layeredness of the peace at the heart of you. For some who are able to hold this state for longer and longer now, it feels sublime. Taking time to consciously attempt to reach this state is important now. Let it start with an intention. Let every day be a reminder to try and tune into the silence that lies behind your thinking. Watching nature is a good time to practice, as is meditation too. You will find in meditation that you realise very quickly how difficult this is to do. Yet over time, like anything that you practice, you will feel the shift within you. Inner peace is your natural state of being. We know this is hard to believe and understand, but it is true. The enlightened state has been made to sound so unachievable, but it is not. And many are being called to take baby steps towards reconnecting to their true selves now, to experiencing the peace they deserve to feel and experience in this lifetime. We would recommend listening time and time again to the 5-minute meditation that will be included as a link. It will help you to become familiar with the inner state that we're referring to. We love you and look forward to being with you again next week. With love, the DC. Our mission to help activate peace from within you. We'll post the link to that meditation in the when we upload this video. Okay, and as always, I'm just gonna sit for a moment and just see if any additional message, guidance, meditation, if anything wants to come through me. I think I'm just gonna close my eyes. Okay, so what I'm hearing is slightly strange, but I'm going to repeat it anyway. So what I'm hearing is, hello, I'm the Peace Fairy, and if I could, I would sprinkle my magic on every single one of you to enable you to feel the peace that is possible for you. And whilst I can't enable this for you, I am able to sprinkle a little magic to help you in this moment to feel a real sense of peace from within you. And so I just ask you for a moment to close your eyes and just join me in a little meditation to, if you like, help you to feel a little more centered within you, with a little essence of helping to activate a little bit of joy from within you. For peace and joy are very close in frequency. Just let that wash over you for a moment. That peace and joy are very close in frequency, and it is often misunderstood that the state of inner peace is a very silent one, and yes, it is inwardly, yet it is also a state of feeling joy from within you, for you feel such a strong connection to the source at the heart of you, like a reconnection, that you just know who you are. And who you are is beyond your human definition. It is knowing that you are beyond this world, if you like. And then there comes a sense of peace from knowing that when you actually feel it, when you actually know it. So I just ask you to just join me for a moment with your eyes closed. Ideally, bringing your palms facing upwards. And just for a moment, bringing your awareness to both your hands facing upwards. Play with me for a moment and use your imagination, and imagine how you would perceive a fairy to look like. And imagine that in both your hands. I'm sprinkling what you might like in childish terms to think of as fairy dust. And as that's sprinkled into both your hands, you get this sensation of energy moving from your hands, up your arms, and into your heart. And from your heart, it moves into your mind. And just for a moment, imagining, playing, just play with me for a moment and imagine how this energy that's being sprinkled into your hands is energetically moving into your heart and then moving into your mind. And as it does this, it's building momentum. And the energy that's moving into your heart is starting to feel stronger. Perhaps you might feel it. Perhaps you might feel like your heart is starting to beat faster. Allow this to be so. And then imagine or visualize that energy going up into your mind. Perhaps it's almost like a fountain of energy from your heart. Imagine a fountain from your heart upwards into your mind. And then see if you can visualize the fountain moving up from your heart into your mind. And then as it flows from your mind, it's coming back into your hands. See if you can be with me for this moment in this visualization. Energy coming into your hands, moving through to your heart, up like a fountain into your mind, and then through back into your hands. And you're building this momentum now. This momentum is now coming from you as this energy is coming up, around and back through. Just do this a few more times with me. Perhaps you may feel a heat rising in your body as you do this. And now I suggest you bringing your hand to your heart space, one above the other. And just pausing here for a moment. Just sitting for a moment with your hands on your heart. And as and when you are ready, just open your eyes. And remember that magic is real. And fairies and the elemental kingdom are around you all the time. And just because you can't see us, it doesn't mean that we're not there. It's a little bit different. I can only describe that energy as it started coming through to me as really childlike. Like it felt, I can't explain it. It felt like, I still feel it now. It felt really, really like joyful, really, yeah. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that. Slightly different little meditation. Okay, right, I am going to move over and ask Ged to come and join me.
Hands up who chose Tinkerbell. That was definitely very playful, and, but it's also very nice. I mean, you could definitely feel something happening. You know, we imagine our reality, so why can't you imagine a meditation? Just the mind tries to get in the way. But I remember one of Einstein's more famous, I guess, non-scientific comments was that we learn through play more than any other method. And that's a very playful energy, and if we can do that and feel better about ourselves, and play some more. Saying thank you for that wonderful meditation. We'll probably separate that one out as well and make that separate, either a short or clip, whatever they're called these days.
Whatever it ends up being.
Yeah. So on to unpacking. Disconnection from source is the biggest dis-ease on the planet. It's also the biggest opportunity, which is why we're all here, you know, picking through the challenges of feeling disconnected at the same time as inherently knowing that we've not completely detached, and that it's the journey of the prodigal son and daughter, obviously, back to that reconnection state. And the theme of this and many others, I imagine, will be that the way to do that is through peace. So they start with saying that, I hope you've enjoyed a week of sense of new beginnings, as if something within you feels different. So it's kind of like they're fully aware of where we're at. They know that something energetically has happened this week. I've not looked at astrology for a while, so I'm not actually sure what was around or what planetary influences there are, but there's definitely something. I mean, we spoke about it ourselves. I've spoken to other people. It's kind of like not all your challenges and troubles have gone away, but you just feel okay about them. It's like, okay, well, that's there, let's get on with it. You know, if you're listening to this in the future, the week they're talking about as the start of this change in energy, I think, was the last week in May 2026. So if you're listening in 2030, huh?
Yeah, and actually I've just thought it was the blue moon last night, wasn't it? Don't know if that Anyway, that's the day. That's the day it is today. The day after the blue moon.
Tune into Pam Gregory if you want the astrological, sense of what that means. I mean, she's the go-to place for everybody. And I guess we're in the southeast coast of England, and all of England, certainly last week or so, has been experiencing very strange weather for this time of year in terms of the heat. It's very unusual. It's not unknown, but I assume that was why I personally was maybe feeling a bit more chilled and a bit more sort of holiday-ish, but maybe there's something else going on as well. And if you've been feeling different, or if you've got maybe you want to leave some comments, tell us where you're at. Interested to know. So there's more light activity, there's more light arriving on the planet, and as I say, the theme of what this is about, what's going to go forward, is that the more we attain peace within ourselves, the more we're able to hold that light as part of our being. So start now, and because this is going to get hotter I don't necessarily mean in the temperature, but it's going to get hotter in terms of the amount of light that's available to us to use for our benefit. So this next statement, I spoke to Helen about it, is very much for her about a felt sense, wasn't it? Rather than words coming into your mind. And they were saying perhaps it's an obvious feeling of feeling a little more settled within yourself, or perhaps it's related to external circumstances that has shifted, or maybe your internal is yet to catch up and realise the beauty in what has occurred. So, I mean, for me, the obvious understanding of the term obvious feeling, if you like, was that we've all felt peaceful before. We've all had nice days, we've all had difficult days, and so maybe it's unrecognised and not associated with a shift in energy, but the DC are telling us it is. That what you felt in this last week or so, it's not just you having a nice time in life, it's because there's a shift, there's more energy coming through, more light coming through, and so we don't pay much attention and we don't associate it with something, but they're asking us maybe to consider it now, and going forward, if you're feeling calmer, more peaceful, or positive, or the opposite, just notice your energetic state. It's responding to I'm going to say external events, because that's what is actually happening. It's light coming from the galactic center. And then there's the sort of contra situation where maybe something good has happened in your external world. Maybe you've got a pay rise, or a new job, or a new relationship, or something, and with that comes a nicer feeling. And so that's the way round we look at it. Something good's happened, I feel nice. And the DC are saying it's always the other way around, even though we don't understand it to be that way. So they're asking us to reflect that when something arrives in our world that makes us feel good in that sense, maybe reflect on, was I feeling peaceful in the days or weeks coming up to that, or even hours? And because that's how it arrives into our reality. They're wanting us to see it in a different way. It's almost upside down, back to front, because that's the consistency. The other way around is more opportunistic, happen chance, and is not consistent. But if you develop that in a peaceful state, then there's more consistency in what shows up in your outside world as a reflection of that. If that makes sense. Yeah, basically join the dots. Try to join the dots, and you're adding another layer onto information that is, reinforcing a picture that we're being asked to consider, a new picture. And they go on to say, we come with an energetic hug as we wrap our metaphorical arms around those of you who are experiencing challenging situations at the moment, and come as a reminder that this too will pass. And if you can allow yourselves the benefit of the higher perspective that nothing is happening without the consent of your soul or higher self, yes, life is happening for you, even when it feels like it isn't. That can be a frustrating phrase when you're in the midst of what feels like a difficult situation that you can't see your way out of, and we remind you that surrender in those moments is a very powerful place for you to be, alongside asking inwardly for help and support. We spoke recently about the rock and a hard place scenario, which I see in clinic a lot. It's where life feels impossible or remarkably unfair, or we're victim of something. It's just, so frustrating and upsetting, and we feel like there's no way out. And then something happens, and you don't necessarily know what happens. But in that sort of desperate state, there is some sense of surrender. It's like, I can't do this, I'm done, I'm finished, I'm out, I can't do this anymore. That's a kind of surrendering from a more desperate state, but they're asking us to surrender from a conscious state. It made me think of when I was in training for craniosacral therapy. There was one of the books, I think it's mentioned in more than one book actually, one of the reference books that we use. So craniosacral therapy, you're holding energetic space with your hands, with your consciousness, and you're feeling for distortions, energetic distortions in the client's body and their field. And the books say that something happens. It's actually a term that they use. Basically, they don't know what happens, but they're saying something happens, and it's, for the practitioner's perspective, it's you're holding space without intention, without interference, without trying to do anything. You're just noticing what's there, and the invitation for something to change. And that's exactly what the DC are talking about for us to do when we're in that state and they are waiting. So they're waiting in the wings, they're waiting for our call. So get ahead of the game, surrender before you get to that state. Say, okay, well, I've got something ahead of me here. Giving them permission to come in and make their crooked roads straight, as they say. Remember the truth to ask and it is given. Perhaps not always in the way that you might expect, but on reflection you will realise how help came to you in the most mysterious ways when viewed from the miraculous point of view. That somehow things work themselves out without you actually working out how. I think Ask and It's Given was a Hay House book.
Yeah, Esther.
Louise Hay? No, did she not write that book?
No, Esther Hicks did. Channeling Abraham.
So yeah, that's a manifestation book or statement, and it's quite a famous one in this on the spiritual path. And they're calling it a truth. But they're adding a flavour in here for you to consider, as to just reflect on things that have happened to you in the past and wonder how on earth that changed, that situation. Just, as I said before, start to join the dots. And time to stop looking at things as a coincidence or happen chance or just one of those things. It's never that, ever. It's always by design, it's always intentional, it's always someone or something taking care of you. No, but when we're asked to sort of consider these things, there are major blocks or roadblocks in your life where you just feel like there's a huge injustice, or extreme situations where that scenario can't possibly be. But they're soul-led interventions, pre-arranged with you, depending on what your belief is, that we're asked to navigate huge hurdles in life. Some of them seemingly impossible. But every person I speak to about this, when they've overcome or even about to overcome a situation, and I ask, would they change, if they could go back, would they change anything? And 9 times out of 10, if not 100 out of 100 is no, I wouldn't, because we know that once you overcome it, why would you want to change that? Because you've been through it, and everyone's grown from it. You've grown in ways that you can't even understand. Only the soul understands, and it's not cruel, it's not to hurt us, it's not to to penalise us. There's no penance in any way. It's for soul growth. But my feeling is, and the feeling that, coming through these channelings and others, that humanity is moving into a different space where we don't necessarily need to experience the severity of some soul-led situations now. That as long as we learn the lessons and understand the challenges as growth opportunities, then we can move through them without them having to hurt or injure us in any way. That's my belief. So the DC go on to use an analogy, and in this case of pregnancy, and where you surrender to the process, trusting that the end result of 9 months will be the birthing of a baby. It's so miraculous, and so can your life be when you shift into the energy of surrendering to your soul/higher self and the benefits that brings you, namely the living experience of being at peace and in a joy of being reconnected to your source through which enabled your life. I mean, I think it's a great analogy because in the vast majority of cases, unless there's some really tragic or unforeseen circumstances, then there's an expectation that a beautiful baby will arrive after a 9-month period. And from the mother's perspective, she feels that alien body growing inside her belly, and this fantastic miracle pops out after 9 months, 41, 42 weeks. And within that there are certain growth markers. You go and get scans and you get checkups, and there's an expectation. Well, most of it is miraculous, and it never ceases to amaze people that a baby can be born. And it doesn't come from us, it comes from source energy. That's the true creation. The mother and the father are the DC referred to as vehicles. And so, the DC are using this pregnancy period and the gestation period as an example of being at peace with a situation which is very common to the human experience, and one which we commonly accept. But I was thinking about this, as well as it being a fabulous analogy, it's slightly unfair in a little way, because we're given the 41, 42 week period. So we know there's an expectation of something happening at the end of that time. Sometimes it's a bit shorter if there's medical issues, but essentially. And so within that letting go, that surrendering to the experience, there's a full expectation that 42 weeks that a baby's going to be born. And if it's not, then there's some issues around it. But on the spiritual path, we don't know times. We don't know it, and also in difficult situations, we don't know when things are going to come to an end. And that's the time element that for me is the difficulty, and requires further trust and further letting go, and it's a very difficult situation. And I wondered also from the baby's perspective if it's aware that there's a 42-week period in the womb, or whether it's just languishing in being looked after and cared for without any trouble in the world, and just enjoying the process, and knowing that at some point it's going to pop out and meet the world. So yeah, an interesting analogy, but there's some other thoughts around it. But time is definitely, I guess, not on our side when times are difficult. They say your father was a vehicle, yet it was your source creator. They say the name is irrelevant. They're referring to source, God, whatever you want to use. That was actually responsible for your creation into this world. That and the innate intelligence of the body that responds to your soul and your subconscious moment to moment. The biggest dis-ease on the planet is being disconnected from your true source, your true self, your higher self. As you take steps to reunite, you start to feel something shift within you, and you realize that in the silence lies your greatest source. So we have an inherent knowing that we're from somewhere else and something else created us. It's commonly accepted that two, man and a woman, come together and create a baby. But our thoughts and feelings go way beyond that. But also our difficulties are fully present in that situation because we feel disconnected, we can't touch it, we perceive we can't touch it, taste it, feel it, know it. It doesn't speak back to us, we don't have conversations with it, unless you're Neil Donald Walsh. And so, but it's in that frustration of disconnection and that feeling lost and feeling isolated that created fear. The fear energy comes in, and then we go into fight, flight, and we're making decisions and things happening in our life that don't serve us or support us. But it's all by design so that we overcome these situations and remain consistent in our belief that we are from another, or that something wonderful created us from source and has created all our lifetimes. And the DC are reminding us that when we step onto this journey, that in each and every moment, every juncture, every experience, we start to feel subtle changes, and they are very subtle at the beginning and they're very short-lived, but then they lengthen and they become less subtle and they become more manifest and more real, and we do start to join the dots, and then it really ramps up. And so how do we, I guess, improve or make more real this journey to remembering? So the DC are reminding us that this, to help us on the way to improve this pathway, to make it more real in our lives, is through a deeper connection, and through that, or to get to that point, requires some attention to inner silence. So it says your source communicates to you too through inner silence. So the more time you actually connect in there, becoming very mindful of the space outside of all your thinking, so you start to get a greater sense of the multi-layeredness of the peace at the heart of you. For some who are able to hold this state for longer and longer, now it feels sublime. So there's a common theme amongst the spiritual community in general. If you were to sort of research channelers going back in over the decades, there's a lot more now, so there's a lot more information, but there was a consistency in the theme that they spoke about. It's kind of like it's where consciousness is at, and they speak about similar things at the same time, but in a different way, and it's whatever vibration you gravitate to will determine which channel that comes through, which teacher. And if you're here listening to this, then Helen is your guide at this moment in time. Good examples of the consciousness theme arriving at the same time. One of them, a really interesting one for me, is the Wright brothers. They claim to have created a transatlantic air travel, but they were the first ones to market it. There was also an organisation in Paris that somehow miraculously managed to do it 2 weeks later. I mean, they didn't just get the blueprint from the Wright brothers and make a plane 2 weeks later. That had been in process for a long time, and I'm sure there were others around the world. So it was in the field. And another one, Michael Jackson often used to speak about, if he'd wake up with a God-given tune in his mind, he'd wake his producer up in the middle of the night just in case someone else would get up the next morning and make the song, because he was aware that that was in the field. And so peace is in the field right now. It's really the theme, and then inviting us to move forward significantly with this. And it's not, finding inner peace is not just a woo-woo spiritual experience, it's a scientific fact. So when you find stillness, you alter what's something called heart rate variability. Your heart stills, your nervous system responds to that stillness, your immune system responds to that. Everything changes. Well, there's another aspect to the heart from a spiritual woo-woo perspective. It's actually a doorway to, and the DC are referring to this here, that the creative source comes through that doorway. That creative source is actually you and your higher intelligence. And when you create stillness through inner peace, it can communicate freely with you. It can make interventions. It can move through your heart space into this reality world and make things better. So being in this receptive state gives your higher self a much greater chance of supporting you on your journey. Think of it logically. If source creation created everything, surely it knows more than your mind. So why would you trust your mind over something that created everything in the first place? So what have you got to lose by sitting in peace for a little while and seeing what happens? So they say taking time to consciously attempt to reach this state is important. So there's got to be an intention. Let it start with an intention. Let every day be a reminder to try and tune into the silence that lies behind your thinking. Watching nature is a good time to practice, as in meditation. You will find in meditation that you realize very quickly how difficult this is to do. Yet over time, like anything that you practice, you will feel this shift within you. So they understand how difficult it is. Our minds are noisy. There's so much noise. It wants to talk all the time. So in order for us to find a peaceful state, we need to occupy the mind in some way. And so there are meditative techniques. Helen's going to put a link up for one where it distracts the mind. It gives it something to do. But they're saying that the simple one is being in nature, so like a walking meditation, or just sat staring at the sea, or in the trees, or listening to birds, because it's neutral, it's generally a beautiful thing, your mind likes it, it doesn't want anything from you, it just wants to give. And if you can sit in that process with the intention of being peaceful, then you're in a meditative state. There has to be that intention to go deeper and not in a peaceful state. It's not just, you're not just being in nature and enjoying it, you're choosing to consciously meditate as well. So it's a bit like going to the gym. If you've not been for a while or even ever before, then it takes a bit of practice. And unless you're the exception rather than the rule, you're going to find it very difficult to still your mind. So use all the tools that are available to you. But consistency is key, and don't set the bar too high. So you'll be lucky if you can do 5 minutes when you first get involved in this. So do 3, 4. Just be okay with that. It takes a little while, but you start to notice the subtle changes in you. You'll start to feel a response to your actions. And don't expect information to come through in your meditation. It's very unlikely for most people. What you're just wanting to notice how you are, how your body is, and what's going on in your bodily response to a peaceful state. Information comes through afterwards in different forms, and that's where you've got to join the dots. But if you're a good student and you want to really work at this, then journal not just how you feel after meditating, but journal events that happen outside, in the outside world, because of your new focus and attention. They say inner peace is your natural state of being. We know this is hard to believe and understand, but it is true. The enlightened state has been made to sound so unachievable, but it is not. And many are being called to take baby steps towards reconnecting to their true selves now, to experiencing the peace they deserve to feel and experience in this lifetime. So my understanding of enlightenment is a deepened state of inner peace. The opening of your clear channel, so you've got source energy, source creation coming through. And it's our ability to hold this state. So you become enlightened, you've got information coming through from a light source. And enlightenment is the movement towards holding that state, not just regularly, but permanently. And the DC are saying it's absolutely not just attainable, but it is our natural state. So we're remembering how to be enlightened. We're not going to school to learn enlightenment. We're remembering how it used to be before fear came in. So they're really encouraging us to have a dedicated practice every day, at least 5 minutes. Maybe you can improve on that afterwards, going forward, whatever is achievable for you. And as I say, Helen will be putting a link up for last week's meditation on YouTube, and this one which may go, it's a bit shorter, so it may go across the other platforms as well. So get stuck into them, enjoy them.
And enjoy the benefits that you will start to feel.
And call on Tinkerbell if you need to. I'm sure she'll be very helpful. Thanks for listening.
Yeah.
There's a lot more to come.
Yeah.
Enjoy a peaceful week.
Yeah.
See how that manifests in your world. And we look forward to seeing you next week.
Yes. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Ciao for now.